Hello everyone, welcome to MySQL Admin Training Day 5. Today we will talk about MySQL backups and restore. But before talking about MySQL backup and restore, we will create one more MySQL instance on the same virtual machine where we have created our first MySQL instance, so that we will have two instances to perform the backups on one and restore on another one. So without wasting any time, let's move on to demo. Let me open a terminal on the virtual machine first. And let me maximize it and type sudo su to take root privilege, password. I'm gonna open one more terminal here, sudo su, password. Okay, so right now I have one MySQL instance up and running on this virtual machine. I can verify this using this command, grep MySQL d, and as you can see, one MySQL d process is up and running. Now I'm going to create one more MySQL instance on the same virtual machine. And in order to do that, first I'll create few directories. So first directory will be MySQL directory, which will act as a data directory for new MySQL instance. And the ownership of this directory will go to MySQL user, as using this user, we will install our MySQL instance. I'm going to create one more directory here, and that will be backup directory, and this directory I will use to perform all the backups, and from this directory I'll restore the backups that I'll take on my first instance. Okay, so I'll give the permissions on this directory, and this permission will be 764 chmod is the command, and this is the directory. So as I have created this directory using root user, so root is the owner of this directory, and the first permission 7 is for root user, which is nothing but read, write and execute. 6 is the permission for other users, and this is nothing but read and write. And 4 is the permission for public, which is nothing but read and execute but no write. Okay, and now the permissions are assigned. So let me go ahead and create one more MySQL instance. In order to create one more MySQL instance, I'll type MySQL d, then I'll have to give default file, but I did not create the configuration file for new MySQL instance yet. So I will open one more terminal here. I type sudo su, and I already have one my.cnf file using which my first MySQL instance is up and running. So I'll make a copy of it, then I'll edit the new MySQL configuration file. So my first file is my.cnf, which is residing inside etc folder. So let me make a copy of the current my.cnf file. So the copy of my.cnf, and I want this copy to reside inside etc folder itself, but the file name will be my2.cnf. Okay, so now I will edit this my2.cnf file. Let it be open, and once it will be open, I'll change the directories. Then I'll also have to change the port. I'll have to change the log file location or the log file name, because I cannot keep two files with the same name at the same location. So this time I'm gonna use MySQL directory for everything, for PID file, for log file, for data files, everything. Although for production it is not a good practice, but this is just for the demo purpose, and I just need one more instance to perform the restore. So this is fine here. So my data directory is MySQL. The port is 3307. The socket file should be created inside the same directory, and the file name I'll keep same because I'm changing the directory, so I can still use the same file name. The user will remain same, which is MySQL. Server ID, I'm gonna change it to 2. Log file, let it be same because it will be created inside different directory. Although if I'll not give MySQL, still it will be created inside MySQL directory only. the log file of MySQL daemon process. Again, I'll create inside the same directory, and even the PID file will use the same directory. Okay, so now I have added the file. So let me go ahead and save it and close it. Now I'm all set to initialize my second MySQL instance. So for that, I'll have to give defaults hyphen file, and the default file that I wanted to use is my2.cnf inside etc directory. Then I'll have to say initialize, and it will initialize the MySQL process, MySQL directory, MySQL files for me. Let me hit enter, and it will take a couple of seconds to initialize, and I'm expecting this to be completed in another 5-6 seconds. And until it is running, let me go back to my third terminal and list out all the files inside MySQL directory. And as you can see, it has created all the default files here, including MySQL D log process, which is nothing but MySQL daemon log file. Let me check if it is completed. Yes, it is completed. And as it is initialized, and if you remember from the video of day 2, after the initialization, if I'll read the MySQL daemon log file, I can find the temporary password there, which I can change after starting the MySQL daemon process. So let me read the file from the directory. Directory is MySQL, and the file name is mysqld.log, and this is the file. Okay, let me hit enter, and you can see in the last line a temporary password is generated for root at localhost, and this is the password. Well and good. Now I'm going to start the MySQL D process, and I'll have to give defaults file again. And then I'll give this and sign. If I'll not give this and sign, then this process will not run in backend. Rather, it will be in the terminal, and as soon as I'll close the terminal, MySQL process, MySQL service will also stop. So it is always a good practice to give the and sign so that the service will run in the background. Okay, so now let me check if I can see another MySQL daemon process running or not. And yes, I can see 2 processes are running, and this is the process for my second MySQL daemon, MySQL MySQL instance, which I have just created. Okay, now I have to change the temporary password. In order to change the temporary password, I'll have to use another binary, which is MySQL admin. Then I'll have to give the socket file location, and socket file will reside inside MySQL. And anyways, as soon as I'll start MySQL daemon process, I can also see a socket file inside the same directory. If I list out all the files inside this MySQL directory, now I can see MySQL.sock file here, even the MySQL d.pid file here. Okay. So using this socket file, I'll try to connect this MySQL instance to change the password. So MySQL.sock, user is root, and password I want to change. Now I will have to provide this temporary password first. Now it is copied. Let me paste here. And for the new password, I'm going to give my name again. Okay, now the password is changed. So let me go ahead and try to connect this MySQL instance. User is root. Password is this, but if I'll just hit enter right now, it will connect to my first instance. So in order to tell this MySQL terminal that I want to connect my newly created instance, I'll also have to provide the socket file. And now if I'll connect, then I will connect to my newly created instance. In order to verify if I'm connected to newly created instance or to the instance that we have created before, I'll type a command, so variables like port, and you can see that I'm connected with the port number 3307. And for my previous instance, let me connect to it first. And if I'll write the same command here, so variables like port, you can see I'm connected using the port number 3306. So these are two different instances. Now, in my first instance, actually I'm going to give a prompt to this instance so that I can differentiate which instance is connected where. I'll just give a prompt 1 here. So whenever I'll see 1, it means I'm connected to my first instance, and then I'll give the prompt 2 here. So whenever I'll see 2, it means I'm connected to my newly created instance. Well and good. Now, let me check what are the databases available in my old instance, which was already up and running. So I'll type so databases, and I can see there are 4 system databases and 2 user databases, which are DB1 and DB2. So let me use DB1, so tables, and I can see one table test here. Let me connect to DB2, so tables, and there is a table test table here. Okay, so now I will go to my Linux terminal and take a MySQL dump inside the backup directory. So MySQL dump, and on which instance I want to take the dump. So I'll have to provide the credentials for this, and I'm not providing any socket file. It means it will connect to default socket file, which is inside temp directory, and the file name is mysql.sock. So it will automatically connect to my first instance, which is running on port number 3306. Now, I have multiple options to take the MySQL dump. I can take it for single database, multiple databases, or I can take for all the databases. So let me first take for single database. So I'll just say, oops, database name is 1, DB1, and then I'll have to give this sign and then the directory where I want to take the backup, and then the file name. So file name, I'll say db1.sql. Let me hit enter, and if I'll see the files inside backup directory, I can see db1.sql file there. So my database db1 has already been backed up. But what if I want to take backup of multiple databases? Then I'll have to give another parameter here, which is databases, and then I'll have to give the database name with the space in the middle, and then hit enter, and now it is also done. Now if I'll list out the files inside backup directory, again I can see 2 files here. Okay, I don't see 2 files here. Let me cross check again. Oops, I have used the same file name. This is my bad. So let me actually clean up this directory one more time and take the backups again. So I'll say rm backup and delete whatever is there inside the backup directory. And let me run the first command first. Okay, so db1 has been backed up. Then now for the multiple database backup, I'll just change the file name to multi.sql, or let's say multidbs.sql, and hit enter. Now let me check the files inside my backup directory, and I can see 2 files, db1.sql, which has the backup of my db1 database, and multidbs.sql, which has the backup of db1 and db2 databases. Okay, but what if I want to take the database backup for all the databases available on the SQL instance? Then I have another parameter here, although I can give the name of all the databases and it will work in the same way, but there is a parameter here for this, which is all hyphen database. Okay, and let me change the file name, and the file name is going to be alldbs.sql. Oops, I have given all database. It should be all databases. and let me hit enter, and now the backup is done. So if I list out the file inside the backup directory, I can see three files here. So in the file db1.sql, I have the backup of db1 database. In the file multidbs.sql, I have the backup of db1 and db2 databases. And in the alldbs.sql, I have the backup of all the databases, including system database. Okay, so using these backup files, I'm going to perform a restore here. In order to perform the restore, I'll have to use another binary, which is MySQL. This is the same binary that we use to connect to MySQL instance. Then the root user, the password is my name, and then I'll have to give the socket name. If I'll not give that, then it will connect using the default socket file, and it will connect to my first instance again. Okay, so the socket file is MySQL, mysql.sock. So it is connected, right? So I'll have to use this socket file and username here. But now I don't want to connect, but I want to restore those databases. Okay, so in order to restore, I can do few things, but let me just try this first. I'm going to restore DB1 database using the backup which was taken for DB1 database only, and the file name is db1.sql. So db1.sql. If I'll hit enter, it will give me the error unknown database db1. That's because I'll have to create a complete empty database on the SQL on the MySQL instance first. Then only I can go ahead and restore db1 database. So right now, if I'll run the command show databases here, I can see only system database. So let me go ahead and create the database db1 here. Create database db1, and just remember that this is case sensitive, and whatever tables databases you are creating, you have to use in the same case. If you have given something in uppercase, use uppercase. If you have given something in lowercase, use lowercase. Now let me go ahead and run the same command again to restore the db1 database from the backup which was taken for db1 database only. Hit enter, it is completed. And now if I'll connect to db1 database in the second instance, use db1, and I'll say so tables, it has the test table. And if I'll do select star from test, it has the data as well. Okay, so this is the restore for from the backup which was taken for single database, and then that single database was restored on another instance. But what if we want to restore from the from the backup which was taken for multiple databases? So let me try that as well. So let me remove this, and let me change the file name to multi dbs. I hope this is the file name that I have used. And before doing this, let me go ahead and drop the database test db1 again. Drop database db1, and if I'll run show databases again, I can see only system databases, right? So I haven't provided any database name here. I'm just providing the backup file which has the backup of db1 and db2. And let me hit enter, and it has completed successfully. This time I did not create any database manually. And let me go ahead and see what are the databases available on my second instance right now. And I can see db1 and db2. Let me use db1. Let me say so tables, and I can see the table here. Let me use db2, and let me say so tables, and I can see the table name here. So now when I'm not giving any database name for the restoration, and I just want to restore all the databases that are available in the backup file, in the dump file, then I don't have to create the database manually. Okay, now what about all databases? You can restore the all databases in the same way. You don't have to provide any database name. You don't have to create any database before trying to restore. But if we have multiple databases backed up in the same file, then I just want to restore one database. Then how exactly I can do that? In order to do it, first let me drop the db1 and db2 databases from my second instance. Drop database db1, drop database db2, and let me try to restore it from all db's backup, which is nothing but the backup of complete instance, all db's, and let me hit enter. And it is completed now. And if I'll say so databases, it has restored those databases. But this is not a problem. The problem is, what if I want to restore only single database from the database backup where you have dumped multiple databases? Okay, so in order to do that, I'll drop those databases again. And I will just restore one database, which is db1, using all dbs.sql backup. Okay, in order to do that, first I'll have to create an empty database with the name db1. It is created here. Now I will run the exactly same command. The only difference will be I will use one more parameter, which is one hyphen database, and then I'll give the name of the database, and then I will hit enter, and it will restore db1 database. But there is a slight catch here. First, let me execute this command. Now it is done. Let me do so databases again. I can see db1 and db2, both the databases are available here. But I've tried to restore only one database, which is db1. So what exactly MySQL did when I ran that command with the parameter one database and the database name was db1. So let me connect to db2 and let me see show tables. So it has only created the database here, but it did not restore db2 database. Okay, but if I'll connect db1 and if I'll run show tables, and you can see it has done the complete restore for db1. So this is the small problem with the MySQL dumps. If you are restoring from multiple from the dump of multiple databases and you are just restoring one database, it will still create other database, but it will not restore all the content inside the database. It will just restore the content of the database that you wanted to restore, but it will still go ahead and create the database. Okay, but if you are doing this, it is always okay to do that, because if you already have db2 database, then it cannot create db2 database. So let me go ahead and actually drop db1 database. Okay, and run the command again. Right now, if you remember, I did not drop db2 database. So if I'll run so databases again, I can still see db2 database here. And let me actually connect to db2 database and create a table here. Create table test2 id int. Okay, I've created a table here, but this is not the table that is available in db2 database on my first instance. And then if I'll try to run the same command again with one database parameter and the database is db1, if I'll hit enter, it has given me the error unknown database db1, right? Which is fine. I'll just create an empty database with the name db1 here. And let me try to run the command again. And this time it completed successfully. So if I'll use db1, I'll say show tables. It has my table here, but I'm more interested to see what exactly it has done with the DB2 database. So if I'll say, so let me connect to DB2 database first, and then so tables, oops, that was a typo, and I can see the test table 2 table is still available here. So if you already have the database available in the instance where you are restoring, it won't do anything at all. If the database is not available, it will just create an empty database. So there is no problem at all if you are restoring single database from the dump of multiple databases, where on your instance where you are restoring other databases are already available. It is not going to touch that database, so you don't have to bother about it. Okay, now if when I run the MySQL dump user, and I just provide the database name, or I will say database, these are the list of the database, or if I'll say all databases, it will not back up each and everything in the database. It will only back up the tables. Okay, but so this is not truly a database backup. In order to perform a complete database backup, you will have to provide few more parameters. So root password is my name, and then I'll have to use routine, then events, sorry, it should be routines, events, and triggers. Although I don't have any trigger or routine or event right now, but in the production database there will be procedures, there will be many other routines available in the database. So you'll have to provide these parameters in order to make the true copy of the database. Okay, and then I'll say db1, I'm just taking it for db1, and then I'll give the file name. So the directory is backup, and I'll say db1 underscore full dot SQL, and this time the database backup, whatever will be created, the dump file whatever will be created, will be the true copy of the database. Okay, so always use routines, event, triggers if you have those things inside your database. Okay, let me actually go ahead and see the the content inside the backup directory one more time, and I can see this db1 underscore full dot SQL file there. Okay, so what we have learned so far in this tutorial, you can take the dump of single database, or you can use the parameter hyphen hyphen databases, and you can give the list of databases with which will be space separated. And then if you want to back up all the databases in MySQL instance, including system database, you can use the parameter hyphen hyphen all hyphen databases. Okay, and in order to restore this, if you have the dump of single database, you just have to go ahead and create the empty database on the instance where you want to restore it, and then you can just go ahead and restore it using MySQL binary. And you just have to provide the file name, make sure you are connected to correct instance. And if you want to restore from from the dump where you have backed up multiple databases, and you want to restore all those databases, you don't have to create any empty database for this, and you don't have to provide any database name for the restore. When you will try to restore, it will create the database, and it will restore all the databases which are available in the MySQL dump file. Okay, but if you have multiple database dump in the single file, and you want to restore single database, then you'll have to create that single database on the destination. And once you will restore it, and the other database names are not present in the instance, then it will create the empty database for others, but it will not perform the rest of the restore for other databases, but it will perform the complete restore for the database you want to restore. But you have to do it using the parameter, which is hyphen hyphen one hyphen database. Okay, so this is what I wanted to cover in this session. In the next session, we will continue with MySQL backup and restore, but this time we will do point in time recovery using the bin log file. Okay, so let me go back to my PPT. And as I always say, thank you for staying with me on day 5. You can follow me on my YouTube channel, which is SQL Space Depository. My blog is sqldepository.com, and I also have a Facebook page. You can follow me, or you can like my Facebook page, which is nothing but SQL Depository. Thank you again.